Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the series that we are calling Her Story as a part of the CCAA and the NCAA celebration of the 50th anniversary of the passing of Title IX. My name is Aubrey Cousins. I'm a former student athlete and current athletic leadership development intern. I will be continuing to interview some of the most prominent women in a history of the CCAA. Today, our guest is Kim Cherniss. Kim served as the head coach and serves as the head coach of Cal State Bernardino's volleyball team and has been since 1991. She has built the Yotes into a regional and national power. She guided CSU SB to the 2019 national championship and has over 700 wins in her career. We're happy to have her today with us for her CCAA HERstory interview. So we welcome Kim Cherniss, and here is her Title IX story. Hi, Kim.
Hi, Aubrey. Nice
How
to
are
be
you?
here.
Thank you. So I just wanted to do a quick little background of you. I know of your wins, and I know how long you've been at Bernardino, but I want to know a little bit more about you and your story.
San Bernardino, Cal State San Bernardino. Yeah. Well, I've been here, as you know, this will be the start of my 33rd season. And it's my first head coaching job and will be my last head coaching job. But that's by design. Honestly, I'm kind of a homesteader by nature, and I like the idea of coming into a program and building a community and building something special. And we've been fortunate enough to do that here. It's been really fulfilling work. You know, I was an athlete in the CC2A, and coaching in the CC2A was something that appealed to me greatly because I felt like it was familiar territory, and I felt like it was one of the strongest conferences in the country, and I always wanted to be competing and working in the environment of excellence that the CC2A provides. So yeah, it was a natural leap for me to want to work in it.
Perfect. So you mentioned that you were a former athlete. Where did you grow up? How did you get into the sport of volleyball?
Well, I grew up in the South Bay area, in a town called Rolling Hills, and I got into playing volleyball because my mom played volleyball. And she used to play with a lot of these ladies in a Wednesday recreational league at a park. So every Wednesday I would mysteriously come down with some ailment that wouldn't let me go to school. And so she'd have to take me with her, and I would watch them play. And then when I got old enough, I would play with them. But I just fell in love with the sport. I love the intimacy of it, especially with women. You know, you have six women that are or six females that are on a court they're really close to each other. So there's a lot of eye contact, a lot of, high fives, patting each other on the back, laughing at some shared inside joke or something, or just smack talking or whatever, because you're in such proximity to each other. And I love that because I played softball, which I loved, and I did play in college too, but you're kind of more removed from each other, and I love that closeness in volleyball and that shared experience. It was really special for me. So I played throughout my high school and my club years in my hometown area, and then was fortunate enough to be picked up by Sue Gazansky at UC Riverside. She recruited me to come and play out there, and I had no idea what I was doing because there wasn't as many choices as there are now for women to play. I got really fortunate that I landed in a program with such a prolific coach, someone who was so accomplished, and a program that was so well supported, as UCR's volleyball program was. I also came in a really interesting time in the history of women's sport because that was technically the transitional year between women playing AIAW and moving into the NCAA. So, before that time, women were not part of the NCAA. They were in under their own umbrella, so to speak. And that was a very eye-opening experience for me as I look back on it now. something that obviously Title IX kind of paved the way for, because having women being segregated or separated into a different championship, it it was a mixed bag. Let me say that, because the interesting part of them being in AIW is their only concern was women's sports. So there were benefits to that.
Mhm.
But we wanted so many of the things that were happening in men's sports that we had to take that leap and be vulnerable and now be kind of considered or try and asked to be considered on the same level as men's sports.
Yeah, wow. So being in that transition period, what comes to your mind, or even in this part, your heart, when you hear the phrase Title IX?
Opportunity. It's an opportunity. You know, in my generation of playing sport, we wanted to be considered, in our mind, we wanted to be considered as good as the guys. But I see it differently now. I don't think that we should be looking at that. I think we should be treating women's sport as its own entity. We're different. There's no question. It's different, but it's as valuable. And Title IX gave us an opportunity to be seen and valued as our own entity, to grow into our own entity, and to be valued for what we can bring to young women's lives through sport. I don't think we have to say, oh, is women's volleyball better than men's volleyball, or is men's volleyball better than women's volleyball, or any of those things. I think that they're separate entities in what they represent and the opportunities that they bring to the student athletes that choose to pursue it. So for me, Title IX means opportunity.
It's amazing. What kind of women showed you this opportunity? Was it like your coaches? I know you mentioned your mom. Was she one of the biggest mentors, I guess, or people that showed you that this opportunity exists?
What stuck out to me is my mom played with some real legends of the game from Southern California who, you know, played in every opportunity that they were able to play in without the advantage of Title IX. So some that volleyball that was being played in that park by these housewives was some of the best volleyball that was in the area at that time. People whose names were synonymous with some of the best beach players in the game, or some of the pioneers in the game, and some of the names that went on to be mentors for great coaches and great players later. But they didn't have the opportunity. That was the best outlet for them to be able to play, was a bunch of housewives playing in a community park. And because of Title IX, one of the daughters of those housewives was able to become, a national championship caliber player at the collegiate level. I was fortunate enough, we won a national championship at UCR, and then to be able to coach and earn a living and provide the same experience for student athletes, 20 some 30 years later, is amazing to me. So, um, you know, I think I got to see that comparison of what Title IX brought to our sport and to women in sport, in the way of opportunity, in the way of resources, that was pretty visceral to me. Like I said, watching my mom and watching those women play and seeing the opportunities that were available to us after Title IX.
Yeah. So you're talking about that kind of generational growth where you see it at each level. What do you think it's going to look like for women's sports within the next 10 years? So that next step.
Yeah, it's really interesting because of those opportunities that became available because of Title IX. We started to see the growth of youth sports on a more organizational level for young girls, to where, club soccer, club volleyball, travel softball, they exploded, right? It's like you'd be hard pressed to find a young girl right now who doesn't participate in one of those sports. And so it became a little bit institutionalized, and I don't want that to have a negative connotation. It didn't become institutionalized and then it became boring. It became more the norm, like it was for boys, that all boys played sports, and it was the exception if a girl played sports. But now it's like, hey, all girls are playing sports too, or at least they have access to it. At least it's reasonably simple for them to find a way to participate in sports if they want to do that. Right. So we had that catching up to do as women, to have it be the norm. So now it's the norm. And now I think in the next 10 years, it's going to be a lot about women understanding, or young girls understanding, or accessing the why that they play. It doesn't have to be, for boys, it seems like it was always the carrot of, well, I want to be in the NBA when I grow up, or I want to be playing Major League Baseball, or I want to be playing Major League Hockey, or those types of things. We still don't really have those avenues for women. And I choose to look at that as a good thing instead of a bad thing, because there's such a minuscule percentage of male athletes that are going to be pro anyway. I think taking away that that illusion is a good idea.
Yes.
Because you more realistically tap into and lean into the other intangibles that sport provide for you. I do this because it builds my self-confidence. I do this because I feel so empowered when I play. I do this because I love the relationships I'm building. I do this because, it really teaches me discipline. It really keeps me like on my toes with my time management. Or I do this because I love to sweat. I love to get dirty, whatever it is. It allows you to lean into that and to really be appreciative of those things that it's developing in your character and who you are as a person. And then things like a scholarship, or who knows, yes, for a small percentage, a chance to play, on an Olympic team, or play professionally, whether it's home or abroad. Those things become the icing as opposed to the reason.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. You can go up to any team. I mean, I played college softball and my partner played college baseball. So to almost just think back, like, what was my why playing? Or if I went out and asked any of those girls, or like, what are you doing out here? They always give the camaraderie, the friendships, and then you switch over to the boys. Oh, I'm trying to get on a minor league team or a major league team. And it's like, I love how you envision that. Like, the women have the opportunity to look that one step further. Sadly, yes, we don't have as many opportunities, but this is teaching us life skills that we're taking everywhere else. I love that mindset. That was amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
What women are out there right now that you recommend the next generation, or even freshmen, college athletes right now? What women are out there that they should look to or look up to in terms of mentorship, or just phenomenal athletes that give their all just to sweat, like you were saying? Do you know any of those athletes off the top of your head?
I think that in any sport, I really, really believe so strongly in our collegiate athletic programs. I really do. I think it's the highest example that that you're being presented with, to really pay attention to really watch. I just had this conversation with my team actually as we finished up our season, and I said, I want to know how many of you are watching the NC2A tournament matches that are provided on, you can go to ncaa.com or ESPN Plus or wherever. It's there. It's now, there's so many opportunities to watch. Didn't used to be that way, but now there's so many opportunities. It's being streamed over so many mediums, and you can watch these games. How many of you are watching, whether it's Division 1, 2, or 3, watching these championship round matches, watching the Elite Eight, watching the Sweet 16, watching the Final Four, watching the championship match, because these are great examples of what you're telling me you aspire to be. And it's not just that they're so athletic, or that they're, the best examples in their position in our sport at the highest level. That, of course, is inspiring in itself. But their level of determination and fight and connection and engagement with their teammates is so obvious. It's so apparent when you watch those competitions that I think it's so inspiring. And so I think each young woman who watches could come out of that match with a different hero of someone they come out with and they go, I just want to be like her. I watched her and she blew me away. I watched a match. It was a quarterfinal match of the Division II women's volleyball championship a couple weeks ago and watched a team I hadn't seen play in a couple years, Wingate. And I watched them play against who would become the eventual national championship for Division II, West Texas A&M. And Wingate had not advanced past the quarterfinals in their school's history. And they had a couple of seniors on their team that had come back. They were fifth-year seniors because of COVID. They had come back with the express purpose of knowing that they were building to this team being so good that they had the chance to do that for their school for the first time in history. Make it to the Elite Eight and then make it past the quarterfinal round, get into the semis or beyond. And they were playing West Texas A&M, which was a very tough draw in the first round. I literally burst into tears twice during the match watching it because of the level of determination of the setter of this team on Wingate.
Wow.
I don't know her. I'd never seen her play before. She was one of those fifth-year seniors, but she inspired me. I'm like literally tearing up right now. She inspired me to the point that I thought, I want to coach that type of player. I want to tap into that type of mentality. So I think you can watch any number of players at your own level, at a level you aspire to, and you can find a hero. That kid was my hero that day.
Oh, that's so nice to hear. I mean, growing up, I didn't really watch majority of like women's sports back in like not that long ago. They still weren't televised as much. But now that I just like you get to watch these games, being a former athlete, you know their emotions and you feel their emotions. Like you said that, and I was like, oh my gosh, now I want to watch the recap just to see like they're playing with their hearts on the court. Like they're giving everything. And little do they know it, they're inspiring, like you said, the next generation. All it takes is one kid to watch that setter, and now they want to be the next best setter in the world. So I love that. Besides obviously watching women's sports, what advice would you give to the next generation or to athletes right now?
I would say don't lose your individual purpose in sport. I think that it offers so much, especially for young women. I think it's everything. I think that you can really discover so much about yourself that is not normally in our society expected or demanded of females. And you can discover it in so many different ways. You can discover it on a highly aggressive path. You can discover it on a super feminine path. You can discover it on a really cool mix of the two. You can discover it in a leadership role. You can discover it in a cooperative role. You can discover it in so many different ways. Like, I'm not saying you have to go into it for those reasons, because you tell that to a 13 or 14-year-old, they're like, I just want the cool hair ties. I want, our team to go out for pizza after we play, but I'm saying don't ignore the fact that all of those things are available to you, and try to evolve with the sport as it evolves in terms of tapping into becoming the person you're supposed to be and becoming empowered, not just in sport, but learning to take how you feel empowered in sport and apply it to other things that you're doing, whether it's, being more capable of talking to your teachers at school because you have a really good dialogue with your coach, or whether it's feeling capable of tackling maybe a second sport because you were afraid of this sport and you tried it and you had a lot of fun. And so it's like, yeah, I think I can do that sport. I can try that. I think that just recognizing all the benefits that playing sport offer you is going to be important for women as they develop in the sport over the next 10 years.
Yeah. I think your theme of this whole conversation was opportunity. You learn from your sport, you give back, or you take that opportunity from that knowledge that you've gained and you take it into your real life and stuff like this. So it's your theme here is just you have access to this now because of Title IX.
Yes.
Don't take it for granted. Take this opportunity and do so much with it. And I think that's what you've highlighted so much in your program is you women have this opportunity. We have the time, we have the resources. Let's go win some national championships. Let's go win some games. So thank you so much, Kim, for speaking with me today. I can't wait to see what you have to finish off your head coaching career. But thank you so much for doing this.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.